Welcome to Two Growlers, a show for craft beer drinkers like you, by craft beer drinkers like you. Brought to you by Beerploma, LLC. Visit our website at beerploma.com for more information about us.
Thanks for the intro, Lynn.
Sure.
Welcome back. For those of you guys who have been following along, this is our second episode. For those of you who haven't been following along, this is our 102nd episode of Two Growlers. Before we kick off into our beers today, we do have an announcement from Shell's, and they've got a bevy of new beers that they're releasing. They have their Noble Star series. Not too much information on that, but they said there's going to be something on the website here pretty soon. Also, their Hefeweizen is out for the summer. Now, I had a friend who visited us from Germany, and he said that the Hefeweizen was the closest he found to a German beer here in America. So if you guys are looking for what Hefeweizen should be all about, make sure to definitely check out Shell's Hefeweizen. And also Shell Shock, their grapefruit Radler beer, is coming out. For those not familiar with what a Radler beer is, in England they have what they call shandies, and most of you guys should be familiar with what a shandy is because we have the Leinenkugel Summer Shandy. Well, Radler beer is a little bit more heavier on whatever juice they're putting into it. It's almost a 60-40 split or 50-50 split, where a Radler is going to be more 80-20, 90-10. So, and this is the very first Radler beer I've seen here in the U.S., and this is going to be a grapefruit Radler, which I've never had before, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing that beer.
When is that one coming out?
That one should be hitting the shelves here within the week here.
Great.
Okay. So, well, we also have a gadget of the week. I don't know if you guys were here for our last episode, number 101. We did do a gadget of the week, so we do have a gadget of the week this week too. They are Reef Player Cervezas, and these are a pair of sandals, and they came with thirst quench technology. Now, when I was at the shoe shop buying these, I picked them up, and there was a big sticker on it that said thirst quench technology, and so I asked the person, I was like, so does that mean there's like a special layer in there to wipe the sweat off the bottom of my feet or something? He goes, no, it's even better, man. Check it out. It's got bottle openers in the bottom, so never leave home without a bottle opener again. Wear them on the bottom of your feet. Just be careful. They might add a slight mushroom smell to your beer. There's our gadget of the week. Okay, so today our beers are coming from one of my favorite breweries. If you guys go back into our podcast episodes, you'll find that we actually did a brewery tour with them back in November. And they were great hosts, and they make two of my favorite beers because they're so different. And it's the Mankato Original and the Stickum Alt, which are really, if you go into the northwest part of Germany, you're going to find a lot of Pilsners. Well, the Alt and the Kolsch are the two beers that are a little bit different, but you'll find them in that northwest region, and Mankato brews them both, and they picked those two beers because they wanted to start out with something different. So now that the brewery has matured a little bit, because they've been open since, I believe it was, it actually says on my shirt right here, since 2010, so they've been open for 3 years now. They're branching out their line, and the two new additions that they have are these two beers that we're going to be trying today. Any questions or comments? No? I guess on a side note, you can also get most of these beers pretty much at any MGM Liquor will have them, Fort Firkins will have them, any liquor store that has a real good variety of craft beer, you should have no trouble finding these two. And especially down in the Mankato area, you should have no problem whatsoever.
Are they going to be pretty much, are they distributed statewide then?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say statewide, but they definitely come up to the cities.
Okay.
So I don't know how far north of the cities, if you're going to find them in the Duluth area or Brainerd area or anything like that. But I know they definitely, you're not going to have any problem finding them here in the cities.
Okay.
And for those of you who are not from Minnesota, I'm not really too sure what their distribution is outside. I think it's pretty limited. Maybe a little bit in Iowa, but I'm fairly certain that it's pretty much a Minnesota staple. So, Lynn, you ready to crack into these beers?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
All right.
First up, we have the organ grinder. Second up, we have their Haymaker IPA. That is a very well put together IPA. I can already smell it. Put those back in the middle, I guess. Okay, let's set the table here. Okay, first we're going to start with their Organ Grinder, which is an American amber beer. And as you can see, it does have a nice amber hue to it. And actually, there's not a whole lot of difference in the actual coloration between the two. But that's normal. So this is their amber ale. You should be getting a slightly sweeter taste out of it, more malty taste. Should have a noticeable hop presence, but it shouldn't be overwhelming compared to other beers. This beer is a 5.8 ABV, which stands for alcohol by volume, and its international bittering units, or its IBU, is 26, which means it's going to be on the low end of the bitter scale. Here's to you. Cheers. It actually has a nice roasted maltiness to it, and it kind of curls back into its bitterness. So it's really well put together. It's very well carbonated. What are you tasting out of that, Lynn?
I can definitely taste the maltiness. Slightly sweet. Not too much on the hops, really. I didn't think, but
It's got a more forward hops presence than I'm normally accustomed to for amber ales, but that might be that it's a little on the cold side right now too. But overall, it's a very well put together beer. I can taste the maturity of this brewery as it grows. So, and it's a very well done beer and a great introduction, or a great expansion to your line. Here's to you guys down in Mankato. Prost. Next up, we have their Haymaker IPA, which is an American Indian Pale Ale. It's going to have a heavy citrusy hops flavor, which comes from the Cascade hops. And a good IPA is going to have other noticeable flavors outside of that citrus flavor. Now, however, because of, I'm looking here at the bottle label here, and it's called Haymaker. That tells me that their purpose of this beer is to give you a punch with the hops. So I'm actually going to forgive this beer if it does have a real abundance of hop flavor, because sometimes you do that on purpose because there's a huge hop following here in the U.S. And so there's nothing wrong with making a beer that caters to that, even if it doesn't necessarily fit the strict guideline of what an IPA is. Overall, this beer has a 6.5 ABV, so it's a little higher in the alcohol. And it's got an IBU of 92. Well, let's contrast that to the last beer we drank, which was a 26. This is going to be definitely heavier on the hops. Now, you've had this one before, right, Lynn?
I have had that one just recently.
And what'd you think of it?
It was good. I really liked it. It was a nice amount of hops. Not real heavy though.
Yep. Nice, clean, citrusy smell to it. When I say clean, I guess it means it's kind of like smelling a clean pair of sheets that just came out of the dryer. It's really crisp and clean. It doesn't linger a whole lot. You're right, it's not very thick at all, but it's got enough hops to give it a lot of flavor, but not enough to just totally overwhelm. And I am actually getting a little bit of sweetness out of, especially in the beginning of the aftertaste. I'm definitely getting just a little bit of sweet, malty sweetness in there, which really mellows out this beer as a whole.
Something I've been wondering about is what I see several beers called some are called American Pale Ale or American IPA. What's the difference in that versus just an IPA?
That's a really good question, Lynn. So I guess let's start out with what the history of what an IPA is. An IPA stands for India Pale Ale. And how pale ales, or how India Pale Ales came to be, is that when the British were colonizing India, they needed a way to get British beers over there. Well, hops was a natural preservative, and it kept the beers fresher. So the more hops you put into it, the longer it would be preserved. So it could actually make the trip all the way over to India. And so that's kind of where the start of India Pale Ales are. But if you have an India Pale Ale in Great Britain, it's going to taste a lot different than what you have over here, because you're still going to get a real thick, heavy, not very carbonated, and the hoppiness is going to be really mellowed out by the sweetness of it. So not to say that you're not going to get any hops, but you're going to get a little bit of it. Well, when the Indian Pale Ale came over here, the Pale Ale was actually one of the very first beers that early craft breweries latched onto and started making. And we found out that we had this real subsection, and it's actually a very large subsection, otherwise breweries like Stone and Surly wouldn't exist, of craft beer drinkers that are really into the hops. The more hops, the better. How can we make this beer extreme? Because we're all about, extreme Doritos and all that kind of stuff. So I guess we needed to have extreme beers. And so we made these American Indian Pale Ales that are really, really on the heavy hoppy side. And just on a note, guys, if you guys want to know what the hoppiest beer made in Minnesota is, it's actually not done by Surly, it's done by Flat Earth. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but I will definitely put it on the bottom of the screen here. I want to say it's like Warlock IPA or something like that. But that's actually the highest in IBUs of all the beers in Minnesota. So, did that answer your question?
I know somebody who might like that.
I know quite a few people that like that. So,
yeah, that answers my question. Thanks.
probably a little bit more long-winded than you want, but hey, proceeds. Now, I really enjoyed both these beers today, but if you had to pick one of these two beers, which one would I find in your fridge?
Probably the Haymaker. It has more flavor. If I were only going to drink one or two, it would be that one, but I do like the flavor of the amber as well. That's something I could drink a little more of. It has a great taste and not quite as heavy. And I would drink both, but if I had to pick just to have one or two, it'd probably be the Haymaker.
I'm with you too. I could go really either way on either one of these two beers. I guess I'm gonna just be devil's advocate here, and I'm actually gonna say that I would actually find the amber in my fridge first, just because of the fact that I have a weak spot for amber beers. So, well, that wraps up our two beers. But hey, before we go, I do have a little surprise for you. For those of you guys who don't know, Lynn and I are actually neighbors. And while I was gone on vacation, and if you guys follow our blog, you'll know that I was in California sampling some fine beers. So Lynn took care of our house for us. And well, I couldn't leave Lynn without a little taste of California.
So I leave me hanging.
So I brought him back a couple of beers. The first one is Nut Brown by AleSmith, which is one of the more famous Californian companies out there. And this is an English style Nut Brown. And then we have Eagle Rock Brewery from Los Angeles. And this is their extra pale ale called Revolution. We're not going to sample these two on the show here today, but Lynn and I are going to drink these as soon as we turn off the camera. And if you guys want to know more about it, you can visit our blog at www.beerploma.com, and we will put that address right down here at the bottom of the screen. So make sure if you want to know what our thoughts were on these beers, head on over there, and you can also see my reviews on all the other beers that I drank out in California. So
were there a lot?
If you would have been there, I probably would have gone through like about twice as much as I did, but because I was there by myself and my family, I had to kind of space them out. So I got through about 5, 6. So and one of the great highlights was I got to have Anchor Steam in California, so I could say I had it locally. So, well, that's all I got for today.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
You can find us on YouTube under Beer Ploma or on iTunes and BlackBerry podcast directories. Now available on Miro for Android users, or visit us on our website at www.beerploma.com. Prost!